said to the boys today, I've never heard so many embarrassing facts strung together about being paraded in front of so many people ever in their life before. I'm pleased that you are so respectful of Ian Simpson. I have my suspicions about him. Ever since this all happened, I've been trying to find out who dropped me in it. And I tried it pretty hard on David Simmers over the summer in Wanaka, but David gave me a good Presbyterian, earnest sort of denial of any guilt whatsoever. So I felt that led him off the hook. And then I looked in the direction of a much more conspiratorial mate of mine, Barry Cleveland, and felt quite sure it was Barry because he'd been already through the process, and I thought he'd enjoy inflicting it on somebody else. But Barry actually finally almost did a sort of mea culpa. My fault, not my own fault, so to speak, and convinced me that it really wasn't him after all. I still wonder, but anyway. But I have to say that this evening, both David Simmers and I have been not entirely satisfied by Ian Simpson's responses to accusations in his direction. And I leave it on your conscience, Ian. It's open to you, but don't ask me for absolution because I'm not going to give it. I did enjoy pointing out to the boys today that that very nice frame around that very nice certificate that we were given today was made from timber from the foyer, the old King's High School building. And I enjoyed pointing out to them that in that case it was also made from the same timber that surrounded the upstairs landing, where you had to present your backside to be caned. And I remember getting a very good workover from the phys ed teacher one time on that landing. So that will be a great reminder of Tommy Mathias. I'm likewise pleased to hear that someone has seen Heck Brout in a bow tie. I always remember Heck Brout with a scarf around his neck when he was our manic scoutmaster, and quite brilliant at it, I have to say. We were told, I think I would seem to remember being told, we were supposed to talk about our career, which I thought was a bit boring, but I will traverse a little bit of it because I like to do my duty, but anyway. There comes a certain time when you take charge of your own career and you actually have to do that. And I remember I was the curate of Roslyn and knocking on doors around the parish and doing all the things that you do. And I remember sitting in my room in the flat one time where I flatted with some young businessmen when you're supposed to board with parish worthies, but I didn't. And thinking, I know what will happen to me. I will become a vicar of a country parish, and then I'll become the vicar of an outer suburban parish, and then I'll become the vicar of an inner suburban parish, and then I'll go on the diocesan standing committee, and then I'll become an archdeacon, and then I'll retire. Okay, so what can I do that's interesting? And you have to do what really interests you in life. I mean, you really do, don't you? And so I ferreted around and decided that with the university family, university chaplaincy was a bad idea. I had enough of universities one way or another, and I never distinguished myself there, but I was, on the other hand, the member of the capping concert fast 4 years in a row, and I was in 5 capping processions, and that was my main distinction, I suppose, at university. But anyway, I then decided that what I would be interested in doing was hospital chaplaincy. And I trained in Poirot for 3 months under a very talented woman who was a very skillful chaplain there in the days when women weren't ordained, but she was a lay chaplain. And then I, as you heard, became a Presbyterian chaplain. I enjoyed that. I mean, that was Ken Irwin. They were the best employers I ever had, I have to say, the good old Presbyterians. So, and then I switched to being an Anglican chaplain, but I'm an Anglican in fact. But in those days it was the high day of ecumenism, and you could get away with doing that sort of thing. I did. So I went to Christchurch, and I really loved the hospital work actually. There were 2 types of chaplain in hospitals, it seemed to me. there were those who sort of went round with little lists and went from ward to ward, making little notes and all the rest of it. But what I found also was that there was another option, that if you just leapt into the deep end, the door was wide open, and you became part of that community, and you actually had to work with people. And I found that I actually spent a lot of my time in the intensive care ward, where I was known as the Rellies man, and because you got a lot of very distressed relatives, and often you could be more useful dealing with the relatives while the staff dealt with the patients. And also in the A&E department, which used to throw up the most bizarre challenges sometimes. I remember wandering into the A&E theatre one really hectic Saturday and saying, Sunday, I mean it was, and I wandered in there and reminisced on the film title and said, Sunday, bloody Sunday. I think they were pumping out a patient at the time. But I enjoyed that really mixed scenario where you had to work as a team with other people, and you put your contribution in and they put their contribution in together, and together you actually were able to make a real offering to people and their families in some very distressing circumstances. And I suppose I would say I cut my teeth at Christchurch Hospital. In fact, as a board member, I ended up going in there to the briefing meeting straight after the quake, and I had to go down to the hospital the day of the quake, the British consul, and bumped into some old medical mates from way back, and there were no lights in the place. They had to evacuate the 2 top floors, and they were all arranged on the riverbank in ward groups, and the power supply had largely failed because they'd got, one of the generators had failed, and they'd got all the power in the place they could into the operating theatre so they could do huge amounts of pretty drastic surgery on people.